Shadows whisper when the lights go dim, cold breath crawling on my skin, voices echo from the other side. Is it real or just my mind? Things paranormal talks in the dark, secrets buried leave a burning mark. We interview the dead, we debate the unknown, chasing shadows where the seeds are sown. Fingers tapping on a Ouija board, broken silence like a shattered chord. Eerie hums in the dead of night. Is it true?
Well, that worked out pretty good.
Yeah, for a change.
Cool. Well, welcome everybody to a new Things Paranormal Talks.
Yeah,
Tonight we have a very special guest. Again, we keep having special guests.
absolutely.
All special.
We do our best.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We have Chris
yeah,
from True Hunting.
absolutely. After I seen that episode, I thought that one I want.
Yeah,
Happy to be here. Very happy to be here.
Can you introduce yourself and what do we know you from? I said it a little bit, but for the people who didn't watch it yet, which is stupid, they have to.
I was listening to the theme song and it said Eerie hums in the dead of night. I'm like, perfect. Then it cut to us. I'm like, well played.
Mhm.
So my name is Chris DiCesare. I'm what's commonly called an extreme haunting survivor. People recognize me from Syfy School Spirits or Travel Channel, My Horror Story, but mostly the new recently released Netflix True Haunting, Eerie Hall.
Yeah. Which, like I said, if you didn't watch it, go watch it on Netflix. It's still on. There were a lot of questions I wrote down. Thank God I wrote them down because I have a brain fart right now. It's the worst thing today.
You're young yet. Jeez.
No, I don't feel young now. Trust me. It's not
It's
that
your
young
age.
anymore.
It's your age.
Getting there already. The moment you entered Erie, we're gonna drop right in. The moment you entered Erie Hall to get to your room, was there a feeling you had when you walked in already, or did it develop later?
It developed later. Geneseo is a beautiful town. It's a small college town. Everything revolves around the university. They're brick walls with ivy coming down the walls. Small town stores, stationery stores, florists, sub shops for hoagies and heroes, music stores. It's like going back in time to the 1950s. I loved that people were kind. They said hello on the streets. There was a sense of welcomeness. And when you looked from the main street or the college out west to the horizon, it dropped down like a plateau, just dropped straight across. You saw for miles and miles. And as the sun went down, the sky turned pink and orange and beautiful colors. And then the lights would pop up, boom, 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 in the horizon of little towns and cities. It was the most beautiful place I had ever seen. And the concept of a haunting never occurred to me. It seemed like it was just too safe, too wonderful, too magnificent a place to go. And I just, I was happy to be there. I went and toured a few colleges. I was actually given full scholarships to other colleges, but I chose Geneseo with a half scholarship because I wanted to be there. Is that beautiful?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is beautiful, even in
definitely.
the area for running like you did.
Yeah, it's you can run anywhere. You can run in the streets of a city, in the forest, any place you want. But it's really nice if you have a small community with sidewalks. You don't have to hit by the cars, right? It's nice, and the scenery changes around. So you go from maybe some home to some businesses to fields. It was. I remember I used to run 8, 9, 10 miles a day just to run. It's just so beautiful out there, and I can't overstate how beautiful it was. In fact, in the chat, I see Vince Devereaux saying Geneseo is beautiful. Actually, that gentleman right there lives in California in the U.S., and he is one of the principal photographers for my book. And he went with me to Geneseo and began to digitally record many of the places that things occurred in, and also the flora and the fauna, as they say. Just thank you, Vince, for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you for your work in the book.
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. And one remark: the casting of those 4 episodes, perfect.
Oh, thank you. It's nothing to do with that. I was very lucky. And the way it works is Netflix had this idea. James Wan said to Netflix, and James Wan is very well known and has lots of pull in the industry, right? So he said,
Yep.
I think that sometimes these ghost movies are just a joke. People laugh at them. They just go to have popcorn and don't really pay attention for a jump scare. But he said, I really believe there are some experiences out there that are real, that people have experienced. We can actually go back to the roots, go away from all the special effects and say what really happens to someone's mind and their relationships. And so he asked Netflix to find a production company that could possibly be, effective at trying to go from a moment in time and bringing it to the people out there watching on Netflix. And they chose a studio called Raw Studios, All Three Media in the UK. And they had done the Meghan and Harry biopic, Vatican Girl, the documentary, Woodstock '99, Gold Rush, Race for the White House, a very respectable, very impressive company. And so they set about trying to wade through the thousands of hauntings that are reported across the globe. And after about 6 months, they had 3 or 4. They thought these seem like there's something to them. There's some evidence. There's some witnesses. Let's pursue them. And so in February of 2021, they reached out to me a long time ago and said, "Hey, how you doing? I want to make a show about your experience." And I figured it was spam. I thought it was just my money, so I put it in my trash bin. And then about a month later, I got a second one and said, "Hey, I'm trying to reach out to you." I'm like, and trash. So several weeks and these things. I spoke with John Zaffis, the haunted collector from Syfy years ago, and friend of Brian Cano, and I said, "Hey, John, you've been around for a while. This company goes, oh, they're great. They do amazing things. That's legit." I'm like, ooh. So I'm back in my trash bin. Luckily, I was able to respond, and that's how I got on Netflix. It's just that's an amazing. People look for it. They're like for 20 years to get that's why their arms and they get their black T-shirt and they get their K2 meters. They try so hard. I did it twice, and so luckily I wasn't foolish enough to do it a third time. And then we began to speak about what happened to my friends and I. And the first response that Netflix gave to the production company was a one-word response. One word: dusty. They thought, wait, this happened. This is a poor choice. This happened 40 years ago. Bunch of old white guys. No one's gonna. It's not contemporary. It's not progressive. We don't usually do this. And I remember talking with them, and our decision was, listen, I think we should keep doing this. And once they hear our words, they look at the friendships, they see the evidence, and they were overwhelmed. Once they got some of the interview clips to them, and they were just like, "Oh my gosh, this is incredible." So we work in society to give everybody a fair shake. But it works both ways. We all have a lens that we view our world from. We have to be very careful, I think, as people, not to exclude somebody because of how they look, how they sound, what they think, where they live. I think, we sometimes do that too soon. So in my case, we're able to work through the lens of what Netflix wanted in terms of being progressive, young, maybe it's people of color, recent things. And they said, you know what, this is great, make the investment. And I think everyone's happy they did.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Everyone should watch.
Yeah, definitely. I keep saying that. I really love that series.
Yeah.
It did very well. It was number 1 in the UK. It was number 2 in the US. And we couldn't top that Ed Gein, the guy who wore the skin of that lady. They were number 1 in the US. We couldn't knock him out number 1 as hard as we tried. But they wanted a top 10 production. And guess what? Number 2 and number 1 that's pretty good. I think they're very happy. And as the protagonist in the first 3 episodes of it, I can tell you that I'm very thankful. I'm thankful first because my father is 82 years old and he appears in the show.
Yeah.
And as a youngster, as a youth, I want to make him proud of me. He worked 3 jobs sometimes. He was very strict because he wanted to make sure we were safe. We learned. He forced me to run and things like that. And I really respected him. And now to hear all these years later, decades later, I can now put on Netflix and see his face and hear his voice. My kids can, my grandchildren can someday, right? And they can hear that this man was proud of me, which is my goal in life. So I'm happy about that. And I'm also happy that they did a great job of recreating the feel and the moments of the haunting.
Yeah. Definitely.
Absolutely. I heard him say you didn't talk about the hauntings of- over 30 years.
Right.
Not a single word. What happened?
No, no, it might seem strange to folks such as your viewers, listeners, because they're intrigued by the paranormal, what is out there. But some people don't think that way. My father was first a science major in college. He was chemistry and biochemistry, so that's not really a paranormal field, so to speak. It's more
Mhm.
about empiricism, Immanuel Kant, what I can see, feel, touch, etc. And also, he became a teacher and then became a principal of a school. And he saw that sometimes you can lose yourself in your mind. You can get distracted by emotions over logic. And he said, he said, a doctor cannot panic, a surgeon can't panic on the table when you're being operated on, the pilot can't panic in the plane. So just focus on the things you can control, push other things away, and you achieve. And if you achieve very well for yourself, you'll have friends, be respected, have some money, and a good life. And so he didn't want to ever talk about those things. And even when he came to the college that evening, I called him on the phone, and I didn't want to do that because I figured he'd think, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" But I wasn't the kind of person to ask for help. I was kind of independent. And when I called and said, "Dad, I don't know what's happening, but it's real. I don't know. I need your help. I'm in a bad place right now." And instead of just asking 1,000 questions and interrogating me, he said, "I'll be right there." And he jumped right in the car. He made that 5-hour journey in 4 hours. That's the speed at which he drove. I found out later on that, my sister was angry at me. My sister Nicole was like angry. I'm like, "Why are you angry?" Years later, it turns out it was her prom night. He didn't bring her to her prom. He left her behind to come save me at the college. So, but it shows how serious he knew this was because I didn't ask for help ever. And, he stayed the evening that night. And in the morning, he said nothing. Let's go for a run. We went for it was beautiful, just him and I. The sun's coming up. There's still moisture on the grass. The birds are chirping, and just nobody is out. We're running step by step by step by step. It was almost like a very sacred moment, just me and my dad just bonding again. I'm away from home. These things are happening. Just he put me back into a place of stability, which is wonderful. Then he said, "Listen, I know I love you. Your mom loves you. If you need help, just call. Just change your room." Now, the thing was, you don't just change your room unless something's wrong, right? So I knew that something had happened, but he didn't share what happened for over 30 years later.
Yeah.
And he did that only because I began to speak publicly about what had happened to my friends and I. And he thought, you know what? I should back him up. He's my son. Things happen there. I'm going to have my own comfort zone and back him up because at the time I was the adult. These are like teenagers and things, 18, 19, whatever. But I was the adult. I was educated. I wasn't involved in all the hysteria. So he felt by adding his 2 cents to the equation, it would help. And I think that it did.
Yeah, it makes you more credible, especially because Netflix told that your dad wasn't the believer,
No.
very skeptical, and it makes you more credible. And I think, and I could be wrong, but I think your dad, he knew something was going on in the room. That's why he said
He
change
did.
your room.
He did.
But I think there's a part of him that didn't want to scare you even more. I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but
No, you're right, Shane. You're
yeah,
right. And in fact, if you watch the show too, the people, Jeff hid things from me. Paul hid things from me. The priest hid things from me.
Yeah.
My friends hid things from me because it was bad enough as it was. They didn't want to pile on to my fear, my paranoia. So it's somewhat frustrating looking back that I wish I had more information that they had. But looking back, they were actually doing one thing,
yeah,
trying to keep me safe, trying to help me, which is, I guess, for a son, for a friend, that's what you want is feel being safe.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand frustration that you would
Yeah,
have wanted to know on one
I,
end, but
yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you don't always control things in your life. I remember my roommate Paul moved out. He just left. He did just left the college. That was it. He had enough. And I found out because he didn't actually say he didn't say I'm leaving. He just says I'll be spending more time at home.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, he's gone. And so I walked into my room, and Jeff, who lived next door, is putting his stuff in the room. There's his books. I'm like, and I looked at him. He goes, "You're probably wondering what's going on." I'm like, "Yes, I am wondering what's going on." Well, I talked to Ed and to Paul and everybody, and we think the best thing for everybody is for me to come in with you here, and to Paul to go next door into the room. And then he eventually left. And I thought to myself, "Well, that's a heck of a note." I mean, I have no say in this. It's my room. I mean, I went from being popular and happy and successful to being a victim. My friends are making choices for me because either they think I can't do it or they think they know better. And that's a little bit hurtful, especially you're a young kid with pride. But I realized one thing. Paul wanted out and Jeff was intrigued. So it's probably better for me, functionally, if Jeff, who's curious, is here because he's his camera all the time, his notebook all the time, right? So I was upset about being the victim, but I accepted that role momentarily if it meant safety. And sometimes in society, we trade freedom for safety. We do it in our governments, we do it in our life, in our relationships, right? So I made the choice as a teenager, you know what? I don't like it, but I'll trade my freedom, my choice for safety. And that's the first time as a kid I thought, oh my gosh, that might happen again.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a question I wrote down in the end, but we're talking about your friends anyways. Do you still did you keep in contact after Netflix?
Oh yeah, it's great. Right after the show premiered, I went back to the college. I went back to the room. I met the students there. I talked to them, make sure they're okay. Then the following day, November 1st, I think we went did a big symposium at the college. We talked on where the priest used to work. The interfaith center is now a community center. So at the place where the priest read my notes, we were all gathered there. Craig was there. Jeff was there. Linda was there. It was an amazing, amazing thing, and Father Charlie could not make it because of health concerns, but he would have been there. But we took questions, we shared our experience, and we were all gathered together. And I found it fascinating that each of us adds a bit of a piece to the puzzle. And in hearing them talk after 40 years, I found out why they said what they said or what they actually saw, because it was turmoil for us. It was just turmoil. It wasn't like we weren't playing it out. It wasn't scripted. We didn't have this daily plan. It was just reacting to crisis. Who's being knocked out? Who's bleeding from their back? What's the ghost saying? So we were constantly in flux. It was nice being removed from that emotionally to look back and say, so that's why you were in that room. That's why you said that. That explains that on the wall. And so it's kind of fascinating that, I spent my whole life living the shadow of these events. And yet I'm still learning more about what happened, even though I was there and I was the primary focus. I've met people who were at the Warren Symposium with me when I went to shake their hand. I've met people who were there that night. I met people who it's amazing the number of people that this impacted. At least 50 people were impacted by this. I think a lot of times hauntings are very personal, where it's maybe 3 people or 2 people and they light a candle and they see a spirit and things. But it's fascinating when a priest is involved and a parent, and we had a professor of psychology was involved, Dr. Lawrence Kassler, and all these students and the parents. It's kind of unparalleled. But none of us wanted it. It's much like addiction, loss of a child, depression, bankruptcy, all these things, they show up in your life sometimes, a car accident, and you got to face them. And I learned that facing them with people around me was better than by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I'm a bit curious. You met Ed and Lorraine Warren, and Lorraine didn't want to shake your hand. Did you ever find out why she didn't shake your hand?
Yes, I did actually. At the time, I was very embarrassed when these celebrities come to the college. And at the time, they were the paranormal. Ed and Lorraine Warren were the paranormal. The Amityville Horror was out that way. And just the movies and books. So Jeff was like, oh, we got to see them. They're amazing. I didn't want to go. I just thought I'd do something else. But he convinced me to go. And we went. And I can tell you the presentation was interesting. I was, like my father, pretty much a skeptic. I thought, that's just silly. If there were ghosts, we'd see them. But when they played these things called EVPs, I'm like, what is that? I mean, it could have been a goat in a yard. It could have been someone with bad gas. I don't know. But when they played these sounds, it didn't quite sound normal to me. There's a little tension, like, ooh, what actually is that sound? I couldn't figure out what those sounds actually were. So it got my attention. Then they had these slides, these still black and white slides. They had to go beep, and these the thing, and they say next slide like that. And these images were purportedly images of famous hauntings of like the Lady in White, I think maybe Burnham Castle, something like that. And I thought that was a weird pictures. And the weirdest one to me, the strangest one, was supposedly A woman sitting in the back of this car, looking forward to the front. And according to the Warrens, that was her funeral. So she was in her car. I'm like, ooh, that is weird. Why would she be there? I mean, so I thought I was freaked out by that. Lorraine kept on saying over and over again that like attracts like. And I couldn't understand that because I was thinking, wait a second, give me two magnets. Like poles repel. Opposites attract in science, right? That made no sense to me. Over the years, I realized she's talking about like perspectives, like energies, like minds. So I was thinking again on this level, and she's like up here. So it's fascinating that, people can hear the same phrase and interpret it in an exactly opposite way, where Jeff's saying, that's true. I'm like, that's not true. Even though we're both intelligent and both, in the same, living in the same place. So at the end of the presentation, Ed says, come up, meet Lorraine. And Jeff was like, yes, let's meet Lorraine. And I have to tell you, the actors who portrayed young us, they were spectacular. I got a kick out of that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I felt like I had a second chance at being young again. And we went up there. Actually, Jeff was closer to the edge, and he was going to go, first. And he waited back. He pushed me ahead of him to go first. My assumption was he had written down these questions. 1, 2, 3, tons of questions. He wanted time to select what do I ask? I have one chance. What do I do? Which one do I get? Which one? Right? So buy him some time. So I went up there, and I stepped to the stage. I put my hand out, and Lorraine said, I won't shake your hand. And I thought for sure someone's behind me making a fuss, or it's the person behind me, and it was me. And then Ed put his hands on me, and he, unlike in the show, he actually pushed me off the stage. And as he did that, she said, I don't want to know my future. I had no idea what that meant, but they were going to be going to around the campus of the college and do a investigation to see if there's an activity. And I didn't go because I was embarrassed and I was angry. And Jeff wanted to go severely, but he said, I'll go back with you. And that evening, right after the symposium, we went back to C2D1. That's the room. It was the C building, second floor, D quad, first room. C2D1 Haunting. That was the room I was in Eerie Hall. And Eerie Hall is like Lake Erie. People think, you made that up. No, it's Eerie Hall for the Great Lake, like Erie, Lake Superior. That's what it's supposed to be. They put extra E on there because that was what it really was. Anyway, so and Jeff asked, well, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. Did you make a face? He said, this is my face. That's how I look. No. I mean, are you sensitive? Yes, so just he felt that she must have known something. And but it wasn't until 27 years later, maybe 28 years later, I was at an event. I just was on the Syfy show, and I was at an event, and a very pretty woman came up, very well, carries a very dignity and style, and said, hi. She said, are you the ghost boy? I'm like, yeah. Your name's Chris, right? I'm like, I'm Chris. I'm the ghost boy. Yes. He goes, my mom loves you. I'm like, oh, it's so nice. Who's your mom? Lorraine Warren. I'm like, I'm like, yo, that's so nice of you, but I think she means somebody else. Must be some other Chris she thinks is me, because no, I know the whole story. She said, I know, I was there. Now, their daughter Judy didn't really like talking about the paranormal. Still doesn't like talking about it. But her parents would go on these tours around the colleges from the Northeast. They go to New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and she would accompany them. And sometimes she'd stay in a hotel. Sometimes she'd be in the car waiting for them. She would do word searches and crossword puzzles. In the meantime, her mom came back to the car that night and said, oh my God, there's this blonde-haired kid. His aura was just huge. It was so vibrant and so powerful, it blocked me. I couldn't read the room. They're being paid to entertain. They're being paid to interact. And she said, when I walked up on the steps, I was told that I blocked everything. And she was afraid I'd read her instead backwards. She didn't want that. So Ed, to save the show, not to hurt me, pushed me off the stage so they can get back on with what they normally do, their routine. So that's actually what happened. And her daughter said she held me in high regard. Her daughter, like Lorraine, loved animals. Lorraine loved her roosters and things. And her daughter still to this day makes bracelets that you can get. And the funds from the bracelets go to non-animal shelters, adoption centers, and things. And one of the things that I was given by Judy was the statue from her dad's library, from Ed Warren's library. It's a bookend from Spain.
Oh,
cool. I went to Europe. So that's a gift I have. So this is a nice artifact that I have, from the Warrens. I had a chance to meet her 4 years before she passed away, 3.5 years before she passed away. But as the day drew nearer, Judy mentioned to me, listen, she has dementia pretty bad. She might not recognize you. She might. I'm not sure. She has good days. She has bad days. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to go a second time and startle her. The first time it was not good for her. It startled her, put her in a bad place, even though she didn't resent that. The last thing I want to do is bookend it the same way, like, oh no, what's this? And so selfishly, I want to go because it'd be cool to actually close that officially and shake her hand or hug her. But I think the nicer part of my personality, the kind person, the person who wants to be a good teacher to the students, wants to be a good friend, I said, well, I don't want to scare her, so I opted out of that, the chance to be with her. But as much as that pains me to say, I still think it's probably the best choice for her. And that's, if I'm being honest, I want that for her, because she inspired a lot of people.
Yeah, she did. Definitely.
Fair enough?
Yeah, definitely fair enough.
Yeah.
I can understand your reason.
Yeah, I try to be good. People help me throughout this whole thing, so I try to give back as best I can. It's hard sometimes to always be good, but I try.
Yeah, well, like I said, everything happens for a reason, and it's probably a good reason why you didn't go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it would be history repeating itself.
Yeah, when they were on the stage, Ed and Lorraine, and Ed was like, ladies and gentlemen, he had like a carnival barker, big voice,
Yeah.
And she was like Elvis Presley, female style. Dun, 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 dun. It was a great, great show. And I remember I said to Jeff, I turned to Jeff early and I said, I could never do that in a million years. I could never get in front of people talk about ghosts in a million years. And that's what I do. So 25 years later, I was back on that stage, the first time talking about ghosts. So like you said, Shane, it's just the cycle, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a quick question by Phil. Was there dramatic license taken with the script as opposite of the real events?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most popular and meaningful questions to ask, because you're not there when they make it, right? You don't know, because they say based on a true story, it turns out like there's one thing the same, everything else is false, right? For views or for get their sponsorships in. I didn't have any say with the Syfy show or Travel Channel show. They took great liberties on that. They had sponsors, they did demographics, and so I didn't know yet that I was supposed to push back. I thought they would keep to the facts as things were. I learned otherwise pretty quickly, that the producers have their idea. You're a prop. They sometimes pay you money, sometimes they don't pay you money. You get a boost in your book sales, but they control the narrative. And so this time I was speaking to my children. I said, look, this is going to be seen by 10 million people around the globe. I will never have this outreach again. You go to a convention, maybe there's 50 people they talk to, right? And you sell maybe 500, 600 books. But to have your name out there to millions around the globe will never happen again. The fear I had, though, was being misquoted, misunderstood. I always tell people, when you can, tell the truth. Lies are hard things to build off of. You have to remember the lie, who they told the lie to, what the lie means. And once your credibility is gone, you can't get it back. Well, he lied. And in a field with the paranormal where credibility is hard to get, and people they want to see you're legitimate, the worst thing I could do is lie for profit or fame. That happens a lot, right? People, they get their chance and all of a sudden they change every fact to be on 15 minutes from that show. Like, at this stage of my life, I didn't want that, and I fought very hard first to express the truth as I experienced it. And so what I did was, as they're making this show for years, I'm writing this book. I read the book, and I kept sending the chapters to them so they could read the chapters as they scripted the show, because every show, even every live action show, is always scripted. They can't take the chance that nothing goes right. It's a huge investment, especially with James Wan involved and Netflix. They're spending millions of dollars, so they're not going to, whoops. Even though I spent at least 40 hours in interviews before the filming, even though I sent 400 pages of text, even though Jeff sent over 300 photographs, even though we all talked to them, when it went from London to LA, where Netflix headquarters, they have commissioners there, they began putting it into their cookie cutter thing. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I didn't know this. I'm preparing. I'm trying to lose some weight so I look better on TV, I'm making sure I stay calm, and so when you start to film, which is actually 2.5 years after we began talking to them, so it's a long process. the first day of filming for me, of interviewing, was very difficult. They had me answering questions that made no sense. Why are you asking that question if I don't understand? They seem like they're pulling like one off from my book, like 9 times this, 1 times that. They asked about that one. I don't understand. And so I did my best to answer truthfully and to give, but I was confused. Like, where's this going? And I felt like at that point in time, I was losing control of my legacy, because this is my legacy. Nothing I'll ever do, unless I stop the war in Iran, right, will ever be as big as being in Netflix with what's happening now. Nothing. So day one in the hotel, and the crew's great. They pay for my hotel and my planes and my trains and my food. They reimburse us with cash. They're very nice to me. But the people on Netflix didn't seem to care. And so the people who made this show, the production company, were in the middle, caught between the boss and their client. And they had to somehow find a way to match what I wanted and what they needed. And of course, they have the say, right? But I was smart in several ways, and I'll explain how I did this. The first thing, I wanted to have other people get filmed first. So Jeff interviewed before me, and Linda before me, everybody before me. This way, they had what they needed except for me. So at that first night in the hotel, I thought to myself, nope, I don't like this, I'm not doing it. So I called my friends up and said, listen, just so you know, I think I'm bailing. What? Because they want to be on Netflix, don't you, right? But I said, here's why. And they said, you know what? You're our friend always. If you feel it's not going right, we'll support you. So the following day, I got in a limousine. I said complaining, right? I'm basically about being limousine. It was my future, not that, right? And it was very nice to be up in my face. And in the car, I said, I'm not very happy about this. What do you mean? Like, this is not accurate. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't sullen. I was happy. I was outgoing. I was running the whole way naked, just going, yay, having the time of my life. And it seems to me they're making me like I'm in the basement with a Ouija board, hating life. It didn't happen that way. And then so we got in a bit of an argument, and we got into the studio, and then there's our producers there, and he, what's the problem? I said, I'm the problem. And we had to have this discussion. I'm not doing the discussion in the hallway. We're not doing it here. We're doing it in private, just the 3 of us. I'm not going to have the camera people here. No. We went for an hour, and I said, listen, here's my phone. At 11:30 a.m., the train leaves from here. I'm going home. No. So we talked. I said, I don't like what's happening. I don't like where it's going. We're going to pull our plug. And I knew I had them because they had spent all the research money, all the set money. They had hired on the camera people, the sound people, the boom, everything. They couldn't stop. So I knew I had them by the short hairs, as it were. Not to be mean, but this is my chance to take back control of my story, my legacy, and the truth. And to their credit, they went against scripting many times because I said, this is what I want. They were nervous, but they trusted me. And I told them, you're so talented. The work you do is amazing. But this is for you a job. It's a project. For me, it's my life. It's my legacy. And I can't risk this. And so from then on, every time we had an interview, discussion, they set me up ahead. Here's what we're doing. Here's why we're doing it. Here's what it means. And then before we did that, I said, okay, here's what really happened. Here's why. So you'll see episodes 2 and 3 are a little more natural in the way in which I'm approached and I deal with things. And then we waited, and people were not happy with what I did. In fact, when they do voiceovers the year before it came out, a year later, I got an email by mistake. It said, don't show Chris any raw footage. Don't show nothing. He can, because every time I saw something, I'm like, I got an idea. I kept pushing back, and they really couldn't say no. So to avoid that whole scenario, it's kind of like when you're in grade school in 3rd grade and you get a note. It's like, I like you. You like me? Circle one, yes or no. It's like, oh no, I'm gonna avoid that person because you're 7. So I kind of was that person. But when I got that, I said to my friends, I said, Jeff and everybody, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna see the footage now, right? So we went to the studio. I was able to record with Tony Levin is the bassist for Peter Gabriel. I got to record with his brother. It was really cool, and just a crazy cool time. So it's been a year since I said these things. Can I please see the scene that this comes from, this line? Well, I guess so. Yeah, this is the scene it comes from, so I can do the line. It's been a year. And so in doing that, I saw about 60% of the rough cut. I'm like, yes. And one of the women from the production company just left. She's like, I'm out. And then she can't, I'm in trouble. It's like, but and again, I'm not a coercive person, but I recognize the moment was important. That this is my chance I always tell people, say the truth. Well, dang it, I'm gonna. And I did it in a way where I couldn't be harmed. They needed me at that point in time, right? They couldn't say no. And so what you see as the final product is mostly correct. They did make some changes, and I understand them. And here's the changes. Here they made them. They made one mistake. A mistake they made, I'm lefty. My actor is a right-handed drawing. No biggie, right? Okay. The big mistakes, big changes are location. When they took the finished product and they screened it in front of viewers before release, they would screen things. What's the result? People loved it except for one thing. We're always in that room. We're always in that room because the final encounter happened in that room. What actually happened was after the shower attack, I then went into the room. I broke the blessing of the priest. I talked to it in my room. But in the show, it happens by the torture tree where that spirit, the person's body was killed. That's one change they made. But they didn't change the conversation. They didn't change how it felt. So, okay, fine. If it adds to the quality of the product, that's your deal. You help me, I'm going to help you. I'll check that one off. The other thing that was not accurate were some of the dates. Because they only had, I think, 4 months to shoot the entire project, which is a long time to pay people's salaries for 4 months for that specialized servicing. They had to rent hotels, move the equipment, rent studios. The outdoor scenes were done in a period of, I think, like 10 or 11 days in the fall. Now, the haunting actually took place in the winter, in February to April. But they filmed everything. They couldn't bring the crew back 6 months later. They have other projects they're working on. They're working on things for Hulu and things, that window. So they had to put the dates on the show to match the foliage that they filmed when they had the young me running through the woods and things like that. So the major changes, the most critical change was the location of the final encounter is wrong. It was in the dorm room and not actually in the forest. The secondary thing that was not correct was that the dates were a bit off, but they picked dates that are important to people. They picked like Linda's birthday and Jeff's this, so they try to make them at least meaningful dates. But the date doesn't make a change in the meaning of it, you know. And I have to tell you, it's really good in terms of how I felt and what we went through. And they used some of the photographs that Jeff took, and I'm very happy. So I hope that answers your question, Dog Man. Because yeah, we fought very hard. I know people can't always do that. But I saw my moment, and I took it. So people can watch that and know that it is mostly accurate and that it is true to the experience. There's one other difference, too, and I'll put it out there, too. You don't know unless you were there. They could not film in the actual Eerie Hall in that room. They purchased it. They rented it out for that time period, but the college was doing renovations on the water system. So you heard was jackhammers, truck, beep, beep. They could not create an area where it was soundproof. They couldn't do it, and they couldn't have those sounds for a scene at 3 a.m. That wouldn't be realistic. So they had to shift last second. Netflix has money and resources, but you can't control the world, right? They had to shift about 20 miles up the road to RIT in Rochester. So that's where everything was filmed there. And so people who go to Geneseo says that's not quite Eerie Hall as I remembered it, because it wasn't, but they intended to, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, they did a great job.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, definitely. Was there, going back to the haunting itself, was there a moment you thought you might be pranked by your friends or something?
Yeah, that's what I thought for the longest time. I didn't listen. I had lived for 18 years. It's not a lifetime, but it's long enough to know that people do dumb things. Mm-hmm. That college students drink and do drugs and fool around. That are mature, right? They have to laugh at your expense. I knew that I didn't see ghosts every day, so that was unlikely. And so first I thought, well, maybe it's a practical joke. And in fact, the first time I heard the ghost, I was in my room. In that room, we had typewriters, no PCs back then, no laptops. We had a typewriter, ding, and there's no Google. I had a project due. It was for my class was Dr. Harold Battersby class. He was an English national who had come from a part of Turkey, and he was a brilliant man. And the class was called Ethno-Cultural Nonverbal Communications. Whew. And my paper was on somatotypes and culture. I knew the word "and" in that whole sentence, right? So I had to go to the library, the card catalog. You find the card, look around, find the aisle, hope the book is there. You take the book out. You had to read the book, put in your own words, then type it. No mistakes. You made a mistake, start over. So it was a 20-page paper. So I wanted to get a start on that. I was very focused, and I wanted to do well. And as I'm typing, I hear Chris. So I said, "Come in, door's open, it's not locked." Chris, like, the door's not locked, just come on in, I'm busy. Like, oh my God. Right. So I get up, go to the door, and nobody. And at that time, I was a nasty rank runner. I could do the half mile in about 2 minutes. No one can outrun me in that dorm. Nobody. So when I ran to the door, nope. Like, that's impossible. I looked to the window. I'm on the second floor. Nobody. That's weird. So I thought, well, if they're playing a prank, I'll just listen to them. I put headphones on with the stereo. Boom, boom, boom. Right now, the song I actually put on was Sammy Hagar, Voice of America. I can't drive 55, like that, because it was loud. But some songs are used in other commercials and things. So they couldn't get that for the show because it was already licensed. So they had the song Mad World by Tears for Fears, which I love that song. It's perfect. Listened at the same time. So that was cool. And then I thought, so I'm listening to this song here in the head, Chris, again, in the headphones. I'm like, that's crazy. So I thought maybe there were drugs in my food. Maybe there's a gas leak in the room. Maybe I was hypnotized. Maybe I had SAD because it's cold outside and dark. Maybe I'm under pressure from my classes. Maybe I was trying to find a rational, excuse for this, and I couldn't. Not that one. And after a few days, there was one frightening possibility left, which was the paranormal. Which I'm like, no, stop. I don't want anyone to know about it. I don't want people. And I've seen people break down under pressure for a big track meet, before a big test for college. I always felt bad for them, and that wasn't me. I was trained not to, and that scared me. And that very day after I heard the voices, when I saw the thing under the loft by the stereo, episode 1, the very end. That's how it happened. Just as scary as that. I'm like, I screamed right out of the room. It was a scary. In fact, at the time, I was eating these hot tamales, like cinnamon flavored candies. My parents sent me a care package because I didn't go home, so I'm eating these like cinnamon, talking your teeth, like that, right? So I'm eating these things, and also I see this thing. I'm like, I'm like, what is that? And they were flying over the room, like making all these noises, like hitting the things, like, oh my God, like rocks. And I couldn't believe it. And I stood for a second. I'm not seeing that. It's a reflection. It's a shadow. And then it moved. I'm like, ah! So very bravely, I screamed, ah! It was great bravery. I ran out of the room. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I was scared blankless. I was like, ah! And Jeff was watching this movie, like you see, just Clint Eastwood movie, in each way you can, I think, or whatever it was. And just $4, I don't know. But I came running to the room, and he's like, what are you doing? I didn't want to tell him. I did not want to tell him what I saw. I panicked. And he said, why'd you panic? And I told him, oh man, I saw a ghost. I don't want to say, I was embarrassed. And I thought for sure he'd be like, yeah, sure you did, or like, yep, I saw one too last night. He didn't. He looked at me like, wait, what'd you say? I said, there's a ghost in my room. And instead of being panicked or horrified, he looked like happy. Like, you don't understand, Jeff. It's not Casper. La, la, la. I mean, it's a thing. It's dead. It's scary. He didn't say anything. He got a camera. He got his notebook. He had a little vest, army vest on. He's like, I didn't know Jeff all that well before the haunting took place. I knew he was a very smart person. Growing up, he watched shows like In Search Of. That's incredible. And he always hoped there was something out there, not just punch the clock. You eat, you sleep, you die. And as he got older, he thought, that's a fairy tale. That's not true. And then so you get up on maybe these things being possible, and then this kid from next door comes running over. There's a ghost, and he seemed to have a purpose now, to be there, to make it all worth it to him. And he jumped headfirst into the investigation of what this might be. He also thought maybe I'm just overreacting, or maybe just playing a joke on him. But soon enough, he began to see all the evidence of what was going on and the effects in the room, and so that's how that happened.
Yeah, that was a very intense scene.
Yeah, in fact, that's what happened. I had actually, for a couple seconds, fallen asleep, which thank God, because I could never sleep in that room. And then Paul said, Chris, wake up. I'm like, oh, I'm sleeping. Wake up. I'm like, what? He goes, there's somebody in the room. I'm like, what? There's somebody in the room. I'm like, go to sleep. No, I'm telling you, go check it out. I'm like, what I got to check it out for? He's your side of the room. I'm like, so I went down the loft, got my flashlight, looked around. I didn't say anything. I said to him, I'm going to beat your ass now. Come on, beat your ass. Because you woke me up. Right? And then as I turned to go up to maybe hit him, just playfully, there's the ghost. I'm like, ah. So I ran into the covers and dropped the flashlight. And he's like, what? What happened? All of a sudden he sees this thing up. He's like, ah. And that's exactly what happened. Just like that. And he didn't believe in religion. I don't think he believed in God or anything like that, or spirits. But he's the one that said, You need a priest to go to a church. So for an atheist to say that, you knew something. I knew something was going on. We didn't like this stuff, and we kept on experiencing it. So, it's just, I think that makes things compelling too. Not fun for us, but compelling.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. Because there was a point when it started attacking your friends,
Yeah.
and you blamed yourself for it.
Well, I did because, well, first it only focused on me. It would be in my room. It would like touch these bony fingers on my feet, like, ice cold. It's like my feet inside the covers, Then it'd look at me at night. I wake up, his face is right there, breathing my breath, my face being numb. I'd scream, right out of the room. It was Chris, Chris, Chris. I had the room blessed. Paul said, let's go. Paul and I took Jeff's notes up to Father Charlie. He believed us. He came down, he blessed the room, and that made the ghost angry. Because the ghost, for whatever reason, respected the blessing. The ghost respected it, either because of the holy oil or the prayers, or the ghost seemed to know this was a priest. The ghost seemed to understand this person was a person trained in the word of God. I don't know. I didn't really talk to the ghost that much early on. I ran from it, threw things at it, but it respected it. So I was so lucky. I'm like, yes, it's over. But the thing was smarter than me. It began to attack my friends. So it attacks Linda. Chris, come help. It attacks Beth. Come help. Judy, help. So in other words, I can't get you that way, but guess what? I'll bring you to me. And I felt terrible because I kept myself safe, not knowing it would affect my friend's safety. And then I felt really bad about that. And even though I've been attacked myself worse than they have been attacked, there's something about friendship or family. I had 2 sisters growing up, and I tease them sometimes, you're dumb, you're dumb, you're dumb. But if people barred them at school, I'd say, leave her alone, or you got me, I'll take care of you. I protected her. So same thing with friends. Don't look, I'm scared to death, but leave my friends alone. You want me, not them. Stop. I was becoming angry at the thing, saying, stop it. And when you saw the pictures of Linda being held down in her bed, and I reached out to see if I felt this energy and things, there's a smoke around her, the mist. I said, listen, you don't want her. You want me. You know that. Leave her alone. If you leave her alone, I promise I'll talk to you. Not now, not here, but on my own terms. I give you my word, I will talk to you, but leave this girl alone. Then the mist went away. She sat up. Oh my God. And that's how I dealt with that. I tried to think. I was never a smart person, but I was a wise person. You know what I'm saying? I was never like brilliant, but I was always able to thankfully see patterns in my life. Okay, how does this have to happen? And that helped me a lot too. When after the shower attack happened, and I'm all cut up in my back, I'm bleeding in my back, and Jeff pulled me out, and my friends are saying, "You're going to the hospital. You're bleeding in your back. You stitches. You have gashes in your back. We're taking you." I said, "I'm not going." Like, no, you are going to the hospital, Chris. You're bleeding badly. You're getting infections. I'll fight you guys. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go because the doctors say, oh, he's self-harming. He's taking drugs. He's hallucinating. And I knew that I wasn't. So I understood my friends wanted to take me to the hospital. It makes sense to heal my wounds, right? So I just think, okay, they think they're helping me. And I know they're not. They think I'm crazy. I know I'm not. I know they're not crazy. How can I combine our visions together? So I thought quick, okay. I said, guys, wait. Get some peroxide. Who's peroxide? Yeah, get bandages. Get some cotton swabs. So for 47 minutes, we had the old-fashioned clocks like this. Click, click. No digital clocks back then, right? I watched. It was peroxide, cotton swab, on the back, bandage. Peroxide, cotton, my whole back had these 3 lines of bandages, like boxes of bandages on my back. But guess what? They were happy. Peroxide kills the infection. The wounds covered up, wasn't bleeding anymore. I was happy. I was in the hospital. So again, it was my struggle was to how to combine visions, because they're right. I'm bleeding. I have to be helped. I'm right. I can't go there. They'll put me in a jacket and the thing will get me. So, but we just saw the same world in a different way. And so luckily, again, I was wise enough or lucky enough to figure out how I can make their vision, their worldview, and mine come together at a critical point.
Yeah.
And then again, too, with the photographs. I mean, Jeff took photos of everything except the back wounds. People say, okay, yeah, pictures of the ghost on the wall. You got this over here, there, but where's the picture of the wounds in your back? You don't want that? I thought Jeff was there. He was there, and I'll never forget it. After, right before we did all the bandaging, he said, the natural light is fading outside. We should get a picture of your back right now before the natural light fades. I don't use a flash on this. You can distort it, And I looked, I said, no, don't take a picture of my back. Don't do it. He said, what are you talking about? I said, Jeff, if you're my friend, you won't take the picture. Because I don't understand why you don't want this. I said, I need a friend, Jeff. I'll be the ghost boy. I'll be Chris. I'm the ghost boy. Does anybody like me anymore? Do I have any value? I'm a freak. I just need to know someone cares about me as a person. Please, Jeff, if you're my friend, put the camera down. And you can see he's a big ward. He's like, oh, this is the best thing. I mean, this is compelling, right? He said, fine, I'm your friend. Put the camera down. So there are no photographs of my back wound, but you know what? Friend for life.
Yeah.
And I people don't understand that sometimes. Like, that's so stupid. You have more friends. No. When you have a true friend like that, who's there for you when you have nothing to give them back, that's the kind of friend you want to have. Once you get famous, you have money and things, everyone's your friend. Hey, bestie. But I knew in that moment there was one person for sure who cared about Chris, not the ghost boy. So I apologize. There's no picture of my back with the scratches on that. But that, to me, I wasn't investigating. I was surviving. And so, again, my sincere apologies. But that is the truth. And I'm happy that I had a friend more than anything else.
Yeah. I'm sorry, somebody spamming on Twitch.
It
I'm going
happens.
to ignore it. You always have those, but
Yeah.
I'm ignoring that one. What I wanted to come back on is you, of course, you felt guilty because the ghost attacked your friends because it wanted to get you. Did they ever blame you for being attacked?
No, no. It's kind of like if you're playing on a team, soccer team, football team, baseball team, and the captain makes a call. It's the wrong call, and you lose the game. It wasn't that they were stupid. It wasn't that they were trying to hurt you. It's that they meant well, and that just doesn't go right sometimes, right? Things don't happen. So I think they viewed it as poor Chris. I think they felt bad for me. I felt bad for them, because they were actually trying to ease my pain with humor. They take me out to like ice cream and things like that, get me out of the room. And I think they felt bad that by trying to help me, they might have caused me more pain. And so I don't know how it happened. Maybe you're right, Shane, about things just working out the way they're supposed to. I had people around me who were just good people. We don't have the same sports teams, the same religions, the same politics. Doesn't matter. We knew that push comes to shove, as human beings, we're forever together. And that's a great gift. There's no guarantee that happens. But I think when people go to war sometimes, or they go through a divorce, or kids, their parents get divorced, it's tough. You kind of bond as kids together, saying, "Let's stick together." I think we're like battle buddies. And I think that pain, that fear, that not knowing and trusting each other gave us a chance to bond beyond normal friendships where, it was nice. We don't want things, money or sex or power of each other. We just wanted to be friends and help each other out, which is, I think, good for college kids, right? Young kids.
Yeah.
The girls, and all the girls, Judy and Beth and Linda, they're all wonderful, beautiful, and talented. And I think they're all hot, woo. But I knew at the same time that this is a bad time for a relationship. I don't know if I'm going to live. I'm failing my classes. I'm not running anymore. Last time I wanted just to have some breakup and tell, and then people are going to jump out the window. So I was very careful to try to keep those relationships in check. And they respected that. They respected the fact that I didn't want to pursue those things. And I'm happy that worked out well for everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. You got the nickname Ghost Boy, and you didn't like it at the beginning. At what point did you embrace the nickname?
Well, sometimes in life we look to our heroes. What did they do? How do they handle things? On a larger scale. And I couldn't stand being called the Ghost Boy. First of all, I was 18, 19. I could vote. I could hold a gun. I could get married. I'm a man, right? I'm not a boy. Second of all, I want to be Chris, not the Ghost Boy. How embarrassing. That could be worse. I mean, look at World War II with the stars and the triangles. It'd be far worse than that. But I still don't like labels, though. I don't like that. I don't like that. I'll pick my own label, I'm cool Chris. Ghost Boy. But if everyone says that's the truth. If I say no, some people say yes, I'm the Ghost Boy. You don't label yourself. And so I didn't like it at all. In fact, I never liked it. People would we'd walk into the college dormitories and be like, "There's the Ghost Boy, that's the Ghost Boy." I'd be by my dormitory, the newspaper comes, I'm from the Gazette, the Ghost Boy here is Chris DiCesare, the Ghost Boy. I'm looking for the Ghost Boy from the newspaper. Just want to talk to him real quick. It's terrible. I hid away, and it wasn't until Leonard Nimoy, Spock from Star Trek. Remember him? Spock, Mr. Spock, live long and prosper. Remember he didn't like that being Mr. Spock. He was a Mission Impossible, and he was always, I'm always Spock. He wrote books that said, I am not Spock. Boo! He didn't realize how much that character meant to others. People became astronauts and scientists because of that character. They find he's their role model. So he wrote a second book saying, I am Spock. Yay, he's Spock. So I saw his example. I said, you know what? It took me about 20 years it took me about to say, if people find value in my experience by using that term, if people can find some insight or coping mechanisms by calling me that term, I will accept it. I'll accept it now, and I embrace it because people love that. They don't know Chris DiCesare, they know that Ghost Boy dude. You know, it's because I'm 40 years older now. I don't look the same, and I can't run as fast. So, but like, you're the Ghost Boy! Oh my God! So I can go in ShopRite, I can go in the movie theater and not get mobbed too much. You know, like at a convention I would. But so it's nice. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about that other than I'm thankful I'm alive. I've come to learn that even if you think you know things, you don't always know things, right? I don't like the Ghost Boy name. It worked out nicely. I told God I can't do this, and it seemed to have worked. I was fearful that I had so many doubts back then. I made so many mistakes from the haunting. I didn't know what I was doing. And yet somehow, divine providence, luck, good fortune, circumstance, somehow I made it through with my sanity intact, with friendships intact, and an opportunity to share with the world what happened and maybe some coping skills. So I'm just a mistake. I'm just the face of a moment that happened, and I'm blessed to be able to be here.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, for people who didn't watch yet, I'm going to probably call out the spoiler alert because I have a question about the end.
Yeah, sure. Oh, hi, Jenny. Missed that, sorry.
Yeah, hi, Jen. So everybody who didn't watch and don't want to hear this, just turn it off. Skip a couple of minutes. But in the end, you found out that the spirit is actually probably one of your ancestors. What did you think when you found out?
Well, I love history, but you can't know all history. It's just impossible. I didn't even know that the haunting would go back to a time period that was critical for the birth of the United States. At that point in time, the patriots in this country were fighting the loyalists and Great Britain and King George for control of the land, the 13 British colonies. The Native Americans were involved in that. In fact, the British told the Native Americans, look, you can keep your land. We just want you to help us beat the patriots because they're rising up against us. The patriots, who actually eventually won the war, didn't care about the Native Americans. They took their land anyway. So it's kind of interesting how, looking back, you don't know how things are going to turn out. In fact, it's a famous situation. They have stance about the expedition. It's a historical thing that happened. In any event, yeah. So it turns out I'd run by this tree several times a week.
Yeah.
I didn't really notice it because you've run 8 miles already. You're not looking at the scenery too much. You're just trying to get the big hill back to the college. But there's an eerie tree there. And it turns out that in 1779, a young patriot from Pennsylvania named Thomas Boyd was killed. And he was mutilated. His eyeballs were gouged out, intestines pulled out, and he's fastened to a tree. And it turns out that on my mother's side, her great uncle and grandfather were the ones that found his body and buried him. They found all the pieces of his body and put it into the ground and said prayers and things like that. Now that's weird. We didn't know this until decades later. My mom retired from her job and was doing some genealogy and said, one day she called me and was like, did you know we had some relatives fought in 1700s? I'm like, that's cool, Mom. See you later. Go back a couple days later, guess they're up by your college, fighting by your college. Okay, I gotta go, Mom. Love you. Bye. Third phone call, and they found this guy who was all mutilated and they buried him. His name was Thomas something. That's when it hit. Jeff had asked early on in the haunting if I had to give this thing a name, what would I call it?
Yeah.
I said Tommy, which is short for Thomas. I said that because I had a parakeet named Tommy. That's all I can think of, right? I don't know. He asked Paul, and Paul said, Tommy. Like, Tommy, can you hear me? He asked somebody else that said Tommy because Tommy knocker. So every person said Tommy for some reason. This thing's name was Tommy. So I always called the thing T. I wouldn't say the name Tommy because it would summon it toward me. So I said, Howard's T, right? Like that. And I remember during the haunting, right after the shower attack for me, a couple days later, I saw this thing in the window. And he was out there in this tree, and he's like, his eyes are missing, bleeding out his face, and his guts are hanging out. I'm like, ew, this thing is evil. Why did he show me that? He's trying to torment my brain. He's trying to make me go crazy. So this thing is sick to show me that. It's like a demon. I thought, oh my God. The wounds described when I looked it up online, like 25 years later, were the wounds he had. Back to Jeff's notes. That's the move. He wasn't trying to scare me. He was showing me who he was, what happened to him, but I'm too stupid, right? Not to understand that. Like, holy cow. And the final catch on that whole thing was that when I talked to him the very last time, I actually asked him, where are you from? It's not in the show. Where are you from? He said, I'm from, it's so crazy. I'm from Danville. And it turns out that Danville's in Pennsylvania. That's where the guy was from. So 30 some odd years later, we confirmed the name, the injuries, the location, like, holy cow. And to me, that was as crazy as anything else, is that this person knew my ancestors. And so maybe that's one of the reasons why he came at me to have stuff to me. Maybe because he was killed. He ran fast enough. Maybe I was a fast runner. So he had my legs. He would escape his death. You know, all these connections that just seem to be kind of fascinating. I ran the Montreal Marathon 4 times when I was a teenager. I was a good runner. He was marched as a prisoner of war in Montreal before he was killed the year before. Same streets. So there's so many corollaries. He was born in Orange County, New York. So was I. I mean, look, 30 years later, we find out there's like 15 similarities between he and I. I'm like, oh my gosh, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I just can't get over that. And so there are some very talented people out there, mediums and psychics, who can glean things, who can communicate, who can listen and understand. But even the best communicator won't know everything. Even if we're face-to-face with our spouse, our best friend, our parents, we still misunderstand things face-to-face, right? That mistakes happen. So I always caution people who have the gift, just don't rush your answers, please. Don't try to make yourself look good and just fill in the blanks. Just tell what you know. Share what is shared with them, because you might have the wrong idea, right? And so, because I was with this thing in this room for day after day, week after week, for months. And I'm still finding out things 30 and 40 years later about who and why this was. So I caution you out there, if you're pursuing a career, keep your integrity intact. Do not make things up. Don't falsify the record. Don't do it, because your falsification might come back at you when you find out, oh, I was wrong to say that. You know, even historically speaking, when someone says that this person has the eyes of the devil, oh, the devil's watching them. No, at least I was a blue-eyed person. People come down from the south to take over the country. The Romans and things had German soldiers. So it can mean different things than you think it means. A CD can mean a compact disc, so you deposit in the bank, someone's initials, right? So you have to make sure that you get beyond your own lens when you try to share what you're sharing. And it's better not just for you and your credibility, but for the person receiving the message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's my point. I mean, criticizing nobody. I'm just, people should probably understand that.
Yeah. I agree.
In the series, you found the memorial stone. Did you ever lay flowers there or went back for a memorial? Is it still there?
Okay, here's the mistake parts I always talk about. No, I can tell you, I'm going to preface this to make sure I don't sound like I'm foolish. I do go to my great-grandma's grave and my grandpa's grave and people like that I knew personally. I was always afraid to go to the grave in case it woke up again. I tried to convince it to find rest, to go away, because its presence was hurting people and it wasn't getting answers. I said, listen, you have to find rest. Whatever you did can be forgiven. Someone still loves you, but you have to let go. You can't stay here. That's why I basically said to it that was shortened down for the movie, for the Netflix show. And I was afraid if I went back and said, hey, I'm here again. I didn't go back to that building for over a quarter century. I didn't dare visit the tomb for almost 35, 40 years because I was afraid it might see me go, hey, buddy. I was afraid. Right before it disappeared, before it evaporated, that day it did, April the 17th. It put its hand out to me. I'm like, no, I'm not shaking your hand. I don't want to do that. I don't, because I'm afraid it might bond with me or worse. I'd already been attacked already, so I don't know if it could trust itself. I didn't know, so no contact, just got to go. So I didn't know if maybe it would. Again, I wasn't an expert. I didn't read books on this. I just trying to live my own, experience through, which is kind of cool, right? I'm not led astray by people's like reading 15 books by somebody else. But and that was it. So I didn't go back. I didn't look in the window. So, but after about 28 years, I went back to Geneseo and I went to the room and looked kind of safe and small and cute. And I couldn't believe that something horrible happened there, And then I went up to Rochester, where he was dug up in the 1910 or 12 and reinterred up at a grave site in Mount Hope Cemetery. I went there and I said some prayers. And then I go back to the tree now and then. I used to run by and I just say some prayers. It sounds like I put my hand on the tree and say, listen, I hope you're at peace. I hope that everything's okay with you. I guess I'll know soon enough, right? And please understand the best I can do. And I hope you forgave yourself. And last time I was with Ron Yacovetti and Lourdes Gonzalez, and we put flowers down the tree. That was her idea, a very good thing. So we try. It's just sometimes it's difficult, even over time, to face trauma. If you were attacked in a street corner, you might not go back there for a long time, if ever. Because the memories that might invoke. When I was a young kid, if a girlfriend and I broke up at a place, we had a breakup, next date was there, so I make a new memory of the bad breakup. That's what I used to do. I used to cover over the old memory and make a new one, So, but something like this, you really can't do that. It was just such an enduring trauma, and I still fear that I didn't do the right thing. Hopefully, I did. I hope I helped. I never, like I said, I mentioned you before the show. I wish it never happened. It did. I made a lot of mistakes. I get friends to help me out through it. I've learned over the years to listen more carefully. I've learned to think things through. I've learned to be more respectful. I've learned to appreciate every day that I have, because tomorrow could be the last one you have. And I've learned to really stress the importance of coping skills, about every day tasting your food, trying to get a good night's sleep at night, let your brain and your body heal, of journaling things down, of trying to create positive things from negative scenarios. And I don't mind sound so heavy on this. I'm not like a preacher or anything like that, but I really believe that each one of us is unique. There's no one exactly like us. Even identical twins aren't the same. And we know we have at least one time through, for sure. Let's make the most of it. In case there aren't 4 or 5 times. And let's just really breathe the air and hear the music and just hug, because you go by a graveyard and there are thousands of tombstones. And the hope is they found some rest, right? Or that they're happy. But they used to laugh and sing and dance and fall in love and taste food. And I don't know for sure. My faith tells me something. My faith informs me, but faith is without proof, right? I've seen some scary things. So I just hope that every one of your listeners and viewers, and both of you, of course, your families, can live a life that you actually enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to work out fine in the end. For me, that is.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I found my soulmate, so I'm done.
Yeah, excellent.
I'm doing good. So yeah, no. There was just one question I have left for me. I don't know about Mary, but I have one question more. After the interviews, I can imagine this was very traumatic. The whole experience. Did you have flashbacks of the complete event after the interviews with Netflix?
I think when you have PTSD, I think that as you get older, you find ways to hide that. But everyone has like a nervous tick or something where they do things. So most people don't have any clue when I speak at conventions or I talk to people on the street, the trauma that was there. They think, oh, it's so cool. I saw you on TV. And I appreciate that. But the trauma is there. And at nighttime, whenever it's dark and I hear sounds or the branch in the window or things like that, I know it's a branch in the window. I know it's nothing. I know it's been 41 years. But I also know it happened one time before out of the blue. If it happened one time, it can then in theory happen a second time. I don't want that. So I try my very best to not think about those things. My mother, this is a great question, Shane. My mother is not in the show. She said to me, don't do it. If you do it, the memories, the emotions, the feelings will all come back, and maybe it too will come back. Please, my son, do not do this. And I had to explain to her that even if that was the case and I'm harmed by this, it'll help a lot of people more than me. I've already walked out of this once. I've been blessed. I'm on borrowed time basically for the last 41 years. I'm just happy to be here. I thought I was dead for sure on that bathroom floor. I thought for sure I was dead. And I said, please trust me, Mom. I know what I'm doing. Please. And, you raised me. You know you did a good job, and I'll make it through. And I did. And my dad, one of the reasons he did this Netflix show too was to support me that way too. To say, because I got your back again. I'm doing this. And he told me for the first time off camera, he said to me, what happened? He said, I was in your room and around 2:30 in the morning. It got super cold in the room and you were finally sleeping. And I saw my breath in the room. I thought, why is the window open? And it wasn't. So why is the heat off? The heat was on. I'm like, why am I seeing my breath if it's 65 degrees in the room and the windows are closed? It's so strange. And he said, I felt sick in my stomach. And then the closet was like just everything I experienced. So this happened in 1985, right? He was up in March 85. So he told me in April of 2023 for the first time in detail. What was that, 38 years? He said, bye, I'll tell you before I die. I'm like, okay, thanks, Dad, So even then he was uncomfortable. Even then he didn't want to say it, but he finally said, here's what I want to tell you. And that's what happened. So now I know too. And it did give me flashbacks, but talking about it when we were filming did. When they were interviewing me and they showed me pictures and they showed me things in my hands, I'm like, oh man, back in those places. And early on when I first appeared, I went like this in the show, like this in the show, because here I am again. I'm going right back in those places. And I've been on the campus taking some still shots. So I was in the place with my friends gathered around who were there talking about it. It was like, oh my gosh. Okay, goosebumps, So yeah, it's I don't know. I'm sorry that I'm not a stronger person to say, piece of cake. But the truth is, this changed me, and I'm hoping for the better. I'm hoping that, Mary and Shane, that both of you and your viewers get a small piece of value out of what I'm sharing. I'm old now. I'm not going to be here much longer, probably. And my hour clock's getting to the end here. I love every second I have. But at least I know now I have a legacy. 30, 40 years now, so I can put the Netflix on and see about this kid and his friends and how the friendships lasted and how they helped each other out and how ghosts can find peace and how you can be strong and survive trauma. I'm hoping. Yeah. I'm not an ambitious person. I'm not ambitions. I don't have enough. Let's do 5 more of these. I said my piece. I'm thankful for the opportunity, and I'm ready to just kind of breathe a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Also, it can work a bit of healing in everything you did. PTSD won't go away, but you learn to deal with it.
Yes. I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for 29 years now. I'm a special education teacher, and most of my students have trauma. They've been adopted, or they've been in foster care, or they've been incarcerated, or been harassed or attacked or molested, or just these kids have a tough life. And my job is to help them get through. And I tell them the first day I have them, I share with them, listen, I said, I can't go back and change what happened in the past. Those are prior chapters in your book of life. But today is a new chapter. And today you decide what you write in your book. That's what I tell them. There are some things in the before chapters you can learn from. If you learn from those, write about what you learned. There are things in the prior chapters you don't want to repeat again. Tell yourself, don't repeat those things. If you had bad parents, don't do it to your kids what they did to you. If you had good parents, do what they did in the right way for your children. I said, from here on in, you write the book. You challenge yourself, I'm writing my life story. You decide what you're going to learn, how you're going to learn it, look at your career goals. I said, I can't make you learn. But if you want to learn, it's right here. And then I put on my show. Like, oh my gosh, Mr. D, holy cow. And you thought you were going to die. And they realize, you know what? I was where they were. Just a different time, different place. And they know I get them. I understand. And so that's why, again, the honesty is important for them. I just tell them, look, I can't make you do anything. You have to choose. I can give you information and knowledge and skills, but it's your life. And you live your life hating people, I can't help that. But it's not a good life. That if you live every day you're angry in life, it's not a good life. Find things you like and pursue it. And your goal is not to get rich. Your goal is to be happy. If you do what you love, you will get money. People will inspire by what you do. Don't begrudge yourself all this opportunity. I tell them, they told you, taste your food, taste it, slow down, eat it, taste it. I don't care if it's a waffle, slow it down. Put your music on, dance, move, shake, be alive. Because some days you'll be like this. You don't want to move. But put the music on and dance to remember, dance to forget, dance to laugh, to cry. I tell them, live your life. And so I think that's important, So I'm really trying hard to take what I learned and apply it. And but the PTSD will never go away. But think how lucky I was. I had a good mom and a good dad. My mom gave up college to have me. How foolish is that? And I'm lying in the bathroom floor thinking, oh, my poor mom. She gave everything up. Now I'm dying on the floor. I'm 19. So I made a calm face on the casket. I wouldn't bother my mom. So I found my peace. So I thought of my mom, Jeff was there, and Ed and Craig and Beth and Linda and Judy and Father Charlie and Dr. Kassler and Paul and just Brian and Luke and just amazing people all around me, And so I always make sure to thank them whenever I'm on a podcast or a show, to say thank you for what you did. And the people since, people who helped me through my cancer last year, my cancer, and Heather and Bill and Jeff's wife Mara, who's an incredibly gifted human being who directed a film called Please Talk With Me. And I've been so blessed to have so many wonderful people. My friend Phil, my friend Mike. I got on and Alan to go on forever. I'm just so blessed, so lucky. I got a beautiful wife named Rita. We're married for 38 years now. I got a daughter, Susan, a son, Matthew. I love them, both adults. I got a little granddaughter named Sylvie, who has my heart. So I'm just happy.
That's good.
Yeah.
But you can take your time to thank anybody. It's fine.
Yeah.
I just thank my doctors too, and everyone who prayed for me. When I found out I had eye cancer, they had to put this metal disc with these irradiated pellets and burn it out of my eye, inside out. And I was quarantined because the radiation would kill people, And I remember I was in the top floor of Sloan Kettering Memorial Center in Manhattan. I saw the Empire State Building and glowing in lights, and Chrysler Building, where the Met Space City feels gorgeous. And I'm there dying just like in The Haunting, right? It's like The Haunting. I had over 650 people reach out on social media and say, we got you. We're praying for you. We're hoping for you. We're sending energy your way. You're great. I said, oh my God, I deserve that. I don't deserve any of this. That's crazy. 650 people just took their time to say, you got this. I mean, I never helped them. I never bought them food. What a blessing. So, again, as tough as things were, I have been so blessed by this. And if I can return from that blessing, oh yes, please.
Yeah.
You wrote a book.
Yes.
Can you show it and tell our audience where they can order it?
Sure. Real fast. This is the ghost picture. I think so. The audience that this is the picture. The skeleton is in the corner. It looks like the skeleton is white. See right there?
Yeah.
That's the ghost picture right there. That's a poster of Bill Rogers. I want to show you that. This is the notes that Jeff was taking. Copy of his notes. Every day was happening in the dorm room.
Oh, cool.
He took a lot of them.
This is the book that Father Charlie used for the blessing. I saved things all these years just to show people like, ooh. Yeah, so the book itself, I put images of all those things in the book. The cover's kind of funny. The cover's this right here. It's me at the toga party. Toga. And I used that. It's called the Ghost Boy of Eerie Hall because this is right first from the ghost outside the window. This is my last moment of happiness before things changed. This is me being innocent. Within 10, 15 minutes of this, my life changed. I start with this, and it ends, of course, with the end. So it's called Ghost Boy of Eerie Hall. The forward's done by Jeff Unger, Jeff from the TV show from Netflix. Here's the campus. It's 400 pages. It's got all the notes and memories and photographs, a timeline. So if you did like the show, this is a lot more detail. They used about 10% of this, and this goes into who we were, what we learned, a lot of the details. So if you're somebody who likes investigating hauntings, I put down every knock, every instance, every sound, every person's viewpoint, so you can see how we grew into the moments. And I think it's a pretty cool thing too. So I'm very proud of that. And if they can go to Amazon and get that, it's hardcover, it's softcover, it's Kindle, and also audiobook. but the Ghost Boy of Eerie Hall. If they would like one of these, this is a cool bracelet. The sales of this bracelet, they're blessed by Father Charlie, so they're constructed by a gentleman out in California, and Father Charlie blessed each one, and they're for sale, and the proceeds go to help cancer victims and also Father Charlie's retirement, so it goes to a good cause. That's on CITA Ventures, CITA Ventures.com. That's there too. So I'm really trying to give back to people who helped me, people who've done a lot. The priest is still alive. He's very old now. He's a bit frail, but it's so cool to be able to thank him all these years later, and who'd have thunk it, right? So it's I want to thank the actors who played us, Reese Phillips, Mike Dorian, and McKenna Pickersgill, all the actors that Cooper Livy who played all of us, who did it. They took time for their life to learn who we were, to watch videos of us, to talk like us, to act like us. The guy who plays me, Wyatt Dorian, was going to be a police officer. But he didn't really want to be a police officer. He said, I want to do something different. So he wanted to try out for the show as a backup dancer guy at the party. And the casting person said, you look a lot like that. How about you just, okay, I'll give it a shot. Amazing job. Now he's on Amazon, the boy spinoff Gen V. He's one of the heroes in Gen V. So an acting career, he's been music videos. So good on him, So I like to see that this helps other people as well. I need to thank Mark Lewis. I need to thank Kelly Nobe, Melissa McLean, Simon Mills. These are all people who, behind the scenes, work real hard to make this come to fruition. 1,000 people I can thank. 1,000 people. Stephen Hobey, everybody.
It's always good to thank those people. They did a great job.
My parents, my grandparents, the ghost, I suppose, right? So funny.
We will put out the links afterwards on YouTube, and you will put it on Spotify.
I will, definitely.
Yeah. So we are at the end.
Yes, we are.
So Shane, it's your turn to wrap it.
Again? No. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. This was very, very inspiring.
My pleasure. I hope I was helpful.
It definitely was, definitely. And it was a very amazing journey.
Yeah.
Traumatic journey, but a great story to tell. And I really hope that in the future, the PTSD will be a little bit less for you.
Lowercase.
Yeah, that would be cool. And you're an amazing guy to talk to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody,
thank Mary. Thank Mary because she got me on here. She's very stout.
Yeah, she's good. She can do. She says this one is coming on the show. He doesn't know it yet, but he will be on the show. And I'm like, how do you plan on doing that? She gets it done. I don't know how she does. So thank you, Mary. Viewers, thank you so much for watching. We will be back upcoming Wednesday.
I have no clue.
Yeah, the 15th, and we will have Dr. Kelly Schutz in the show. Black Eyed Kids. And we will be back at Saturday as well, because then we have a show as well. So we have 2 this week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you much. I appreciate having me on.
Thank you, Chris, so much.
Thank you.
Hope to talk soon again.
Yes.
As always, we're going to end with a little bit of music, and I'm going to click everybody in the back. And Chris, if you have time to stay a little, we can talk a little bit further. Sure. If you don't have time, that's fine as well. Everybody, thank you so much for listening and watching, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.